The day everyone laughed at the twisted wreck of a McLaren 720S was the day a single father quietly changed his life forever. The exotic supercar sat under the bright afternoon sun in a crowded salvage yard, its once beautiful body crushed and scarred from a devastating accident. The front end was mangled beyond recognition. The windshield was shattered. One wheel hung at an impossible angle. Most people who walked past it saw nothing but a pile of expensive mistakes and broken dreams. Then something unbelievable happened. The damaged McLaren was sold for just $500. $500 for a car that had once cost more than many houses. Nobody believed it could ever drive again. Nobody except one man. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and never giving up when life knocks you down, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire for more inspiring stories that touch the heart. The man who bought the wrecked McLaren was 38-year-old Corbin Hale, a hardworking single father raising his 10-year-old son, Rowan. Corbin lived in a modest house on the edge of town. Life had not been easy for him. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife to a sudden illness that turned his entire world upside down. Overnight, he had become both mother and father, trying to provide for his son while carrying a grief that never completely disappeared. Every morning before sunrise, Corbin worked at a local auto repair shop. Every evening, he returned home exhausted, helping Rowan with schoolwork, cooking dinner, and trying his best to keep life moving forward. Cars had always been Corbin's passion. As a teenager, he could rebuild engines with his eyes closed. As an adult, he dreamed of restoring classic vehicles, but life responsibilities always came first. Bills came first. Rent came first. Food came first. Dreams could wait. Or so he thought. One bright spring afternoon, Corbin visited a salvage auction looking for inexpensive parts for customer vehicles. While walking through rows of damaged cars, he spotted the McLaren. Something about it stopped him in his tracks. Most people saw destruction. Corbin saw possibility. He slowly circled the wreckage, examining every damaged panel and bent component. He crouched beside the frame. He studied the suspension. He checked the engine compartment. The auction workers joked nearby. Some shook their heads. Others laughed openly. They said the car was finished. They said nobody would be foolish enough to buy it. But Corbin noticed something important. The carbon fiber survival cell was largely intact. The engine appeared damaged but reparable. The frame wasn't completely destroyed. It would be difficult. Extremely difficult. But not impossible. When bidding started, almost nobody showed interest. The final hammer fell. $500. Corbin had just bought a crashed McLaren 720S. When he brought it home on a trailer, neighbors gathered outside. Some smiled politely. Others whispered behind their hands. Many assumed he had made the biggest financial mistake of his life. Even Rowan stared at the wrecked supercar with wide eyes. The twisted machine looked hopeless. Yet when Corbin looked at it, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Excitement. Purpose. Hope. That evening, after dinner, father and son sat on folding chairs in the driveway staring at the damaged car. The setting sun reflected off the cracked orange paint. For the first time in a long time, Rowan saw his father's eyes light up. And that mattered more than either of them realized. The next morning, the challenge began. Corbin gave himself 30 days. 30 days to rebuild the impossible. 30 days to prove that some things deserve a second chance. Every day followed the same exhausting routine. He worked his regular job from sunrise until late afternoon. Then he rushed home. After helping Rowan with homework and dinner, he spent nearly every evening and much of the night working on the McLaren. Neighbors often saw garage lights glowing long after midnight. The project quickly became harder than expected. Damaged parts were difficult to locate. Replacement components cost far more than Corbin could comfortably afford. Hidden structural issues appeared. Electrical systems failed. New problems emerged almost daily. Several times he wondered if everyone else had been right. Several times he considered giving up. One particularly difficult afternoon, a shipment containing a critical suspension component arrived damaged. The replacement would take another week. Corbin sat alone in the garage staring at the partially disassembled car. His savings were shrinking. His energy was disappearing. The deadline seemed impossible. Then Rowan quietly walked into the garage carrying 2 sandwiches and a bottle of water. Without saying much, the young boy simply sat beside his father. The afternoon sunlight poured through the garage door. Dust floated through the warm air. For several minutes they sat together in silence. That simple moment reminded Corbin why he started. This project was never only about a car. It was about rebuilding something inside himself. The next day he got back to work. Word gradually spread throughout town. People became curious. Customers from the repair shop stopped by to see the progress. Friends donated spare tools. A retired mechanic volunteered advice. A local paint specialist offered discounted materials. What started as one man's impossible dream slowly became a community effort. Each day brought visible progress. The damaged panels were removed. The frame was aligned. Mechanical systems were repaired. The engine was rebuilt piece by piece. The crushed body slowly regained its shape. The wreck that once attracted laughter began attracting admiration. As the days passed, Rowan became his father's most enthusiastic helper. He handed over tools. Organized parts. Cleaned components. Learned mechanical skills. Most importantly, he spent precious time with his father. The project created memories neither of them would ever forget. By the 24th day, the McLaren finally looked like a car again. Fresh body panels gleamed in the sunlight. The suspension sat perfectly level. The interior was carefully restored. People who had mocked the project now stopped to take photographs. Some couldn't believe it was the same vehicle. Yet the biggest challenge still remained. The engine. Without a functioning engine, everything else meant nothing. On day 27, after weeks of work, Corbin turned the key for the first serious startup attempt. Nothing. Silence. His heart sank. Hours of troubleshooting followed. Sensors were checked. Connections were inspected. Modules were reset. The problem refused to reveal itself. The clock was running out. Day 28 passed. Day 29 arrived. Still no success. Exhaustion weighed heavily on him. The dream seemed ready to slip away at the very last moment. Late that afternoon, while reviewing every wire one final time, Corbin discovered a tiny damaged connector hidden deep within the engine bay. A piece no larger than his thumb. A tiny defect causing enormous problems. He repaired it carefully. Then he waited. The next morning marked day 30. Neighbors gathered outside. Friends arrived. Customers from the repair shop came to watch. Even people who once laughed showed up. Everyone wanted to see how the story ended. The bright daytime sky stretched overhead. The air buzzed with anticipation. Corbin climbed into the driver's seat. Rowan stood nearby, holding his breath. For a moment, complete silence filled the driveway. Then Corbin pressed the start button. A second passed. Then another. Suddenly the twin-turbocharged engine roared to life. The sound echoed through the neighborhood like thunder. People cheered. Some applauded. Others simply stared in disbelief. Rowan jumped up and down with excitement. Corbin sat motionless behind the wheel. Tears filled his eyes. Not because the car worked. Because the journey had reminded him who he was. The broken McLaren wasn't the only thing rebuilt during those 30 days. A grieving father had rebuilt his confidence. A young boy had rediscovered joy. A community had rediscovered belief. And together they proved that second chances are real. Weeks later, videos of the restoration spread across social media. Millions watched the transformation. Automotive companies reached out. Sponsors offered opportunities. Corbin eventually launched his own restoration business, turning his lifelong passion into a successful career. But the greatest reward wasn't money. It wasn't fame. It wasn't the beautiful supercar parked in his garage. The greatest reward was seeing Rowan smile again. The greatest reward was proving that even after life's worst crashes, people can rebuild. Maybe not exactly as they were before, but sometimes stronger than ever. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that no dream is ever truly beyond repair. Special request: comment below with the words, "Second chances matter," if you believe people and dreams deserve another opportunity. As the sun shined brightly over the neighborhood that afternoon, the restored McLaren rolled slowly down the street. Its engine purred smoothly. Its paint reflected the clear blue sky. People waved from sidewalks. Children pointed with excitement. And inside that car sat a father and son who had learned one unforgettable lesson. No matter how badly life crashes your plans, hope can still rebuild what seems impossible. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to believe in what everyone else has already given up on.